the portfolio owner was that he said a lot of investors come into these parks and they just do a shoddy job and then sell that for all of this money to these buyers, and then they're left with a crappy product, and then the complaints come to the park. So we made sure we weren't going to do anything like that. So that, I say, is a very valuable lesson. To I don't care if it's an hour's worth of work left or 10 minutes worth of work. If it's not completed, then there should be no payment, until it's absolutely turnkey, ready to walk through the door.
Yeah, some of the parts that we were very interested in the beginning, who were like, we do not work with investors. I think that they're all kind of realizing that they can save money if they get the home out of their control and onto someone else who's qualified and who's going to pay the lot rent. I have just, for the first time in my life, realized that I can actually make a living without having a 9 to 5. And that's actually both of our goal now.
Profit wise, we like 30,000 in the 50s and the 60s. Oh, okay. Hey, I'm not gonna add. Hey, that's all right.
So we just keep investing in the business, so that 3 years from now we can then say, hey, let's get rid of these 9 to 5s and focus solely on this, and then let's start looking at parks, and let's start looking at.
When people talk to me about it, I'm like, you have no idea. Like, it's not easy. It's definitely worth it, for sure, but you have to be committed. You have to definitely be all in.
In the beginning, or even going through the process, were there times that you wanted to quit or throw in the towel, which I assume there was, but correct me if I'm wrong? And then more importantly, what stopped you from doing that? Oh, this is exciting. This has been a long time in the making. I've been twisting your arm to get you on here.
Listen, you have no idea.
Well, whatever you had to do, Shaun, to bribe Pamm to get her on, I appreciate it. All right, we'll jump into it.
All right.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is the Mobile Home Investing Lessons Podcast. We have a great episode for you today. I'm joined with Pamm and Shaun, two excellent mobile home investors I've had the pleasure of knowing for a while now. Thank you both for being here.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, seriously. No, thank you for being on here. How long has it been since we've been working together? At least a year.
A little over,
right?
A
little over a year.
Something like that.
A year and a half?
Yeah, something like that.
A little over a year for sure.
Has it been a fast year or a slow year?
I think fast. Okay. I think fast. I always kind of stop myself like, how did we get here?
I gotta pinch myself. Is this true? Is this all just a dream? I wanted to ask you, one of the questions, I sent you over a few questions. This is not one of the ones that I sent over, but I was curious. Has mobile home investing, has that been your only side hustle? And is it the most successful side hustle? I guess that's like a two-part question, just because I didn't really know the answer to that. Having known you for so long, yeah, have there been other side hustles? And
it's my first side hustle. Shaun is the king of side hustles. He's the one that found you.
Threw
you under the bus. Okay. Okay. No, that's awesome.
Not the king of side hustles, but I've had other side hustles that I've done, but none have been this beneficial or taken off as fast as this has. So,
what are you both do? You're both working full-time jobs, right? Careers.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What do you mind sharing that for the folks listening? What you're doing?
So I actually manage a sales team. I'm in the beauty business, so it kind of fits. Not really, but kind of.
Because you manage handyman, or is that?
I manage makeup artists. So.
Wow, that's wild. For for that, what industry? Like movies?
Yeah, for a makeup company. So I manage the whole country.
Wow.
Yeah, salespeople. It's actually, makeup art. Everything is sales, right? So it actually comes down to sales. Yeah.
Beauty industry by day and mobile home invest. Don't tell anybody that. Mobile home investing by night. Opposite sides. Wow. And Shaun?
I work in technology. I'm a network security engineer. Wow. So yeah, I've been in this field for about 25 years. So yeah.
Wow. You must have seen things change. Like with
Oh, definitely.
tech and stuff.
Definitely. Yeah.
You sent over, you're very talented online, and you sent over that video just recently that I saw. That was cool, of the
Thank
before
you.
and after of some rehabs that you had done.
Right.
And I think that the point was to send it to, that'd be a good way, like a good business card or way to give it to park managers or park owners
Right.
to show you that you're the real deal.
Right.
That was awesome. That was really cool. I mean, that, if you don't mind, I'd love to sort of play it on the side, or while
Yeah, that's
I'll
fine.
I'll,
Yeah,
I'll, I'll
sure.
add that afterwards.
That's
But
fine.
so people can see, like, these are nice homes. I was surprised. I haven't seen a couple of these homes in a long time, like big double wides, newish
Yeah.
looking double wides.
Hey, I was surprised too when I looked at it.
Given
So
those
I
mobile
can't
homes
take
are
all the
facelift.
credit for that. My our daughter actually
Yeah.
worked on that.
Oh,
So
cool. Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Family business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Uh, let's jump into mobile home investing. What has your, it's been a year and a half now. You have enough. Tell me how tell me how it was when we got started together. Did you instantly hit the ground running? When was your first deal? How long after we got started was your, do you remember that? Your first deal happened?
It took a while.
Did it take a while? Okay.
Yes, it definitely took a while. And I can remember calling you like, John, I'm losing him. I'm losing. He's about to jump ship.
Yeah, I was not seeing the big picture. It was a lot of work. And I'm a techie, so I'm used to everything at the fingertip. So like my side hustles are usually online businesses. So, and this is more physically interactive, and so driving for dollars, meeting park managers, all of these things I wasn't really seeing. For the amount of time that we were putting into it, I wasn't really seeing, is this really beneficial? Does it really, is the profit there? Does it make sense? So I couldn't see it at the time. Pam saw it from the very beginning, but and she would try to convince me continuously. We argued all sorts of things, fight after fight about it. And she saw it, she was clear-eyed through from the beginning. I actually have to say that, strictly clear-eyed about, what the potential of this was. And I'm glad I'm glad that I stuck in there, because I can definitely see it now. So, but in the beginning I could not see it.
I can't remember exactly how long, but I want to say it took us, would you say like 2 months to find our first deal, or
I'd say it was probably even longer than
3
that, maybe
months?
about 3 to 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I remember, it was like
Yeah.
3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And now you're investing in multiple, it feels like multiple properties a month. This business does have a way of testing you before you get your first deal, or
Right.
you're putting in, how many hours do you think you put in? 20, 30 hours, 40 hours before your first deal?
Oh,
like,
We're
we had
losing.
no free time, so I can't even put a number on that.
Wow.
so pretty much every weekend. Yeah, it was a long time coming for us, for sure.
And then driving for dollars, we would do that continuously.
Yeah, constantly driving.
And we
for
even
dollars.
went and we got business cards, and which we did all completely wrong. So we had the company name wrong. Like, we went through 3 different company names, 3 domain names, all of that, until we finally got it right. So, and we fortunately, this one particular time, we would go into the homes, if they were unlocked, we'd take a look around and then take pictures and send to you, and we would leave our business cards in the home. And this is really when the breaking moment was for us, that kind of like pushed us to the top of how this moves, right? So that we could really understand and see and start the process. We put the card in one particular home in this park, and we met he wasn't the real manager. He was the handyman posing as, or the maintenance guy posing as the manager. And he was so furious with Pam when she called. He just tore her a new one over the phone. And this is one of the things that I love about Pam and having her as a partner, is the way that she handles these type of situations. But I guess it's because of the industry she works in, where that comes into play. and she handled that situation so like professionally. She didn't get upset, she didn't get aggravated, she stayed calm and kept her composure, so much so that the guy who yelled at her and cursed her out and everything had to stop and say, I can't believe you actually even called me back after hearing all of the things I said to you. I apologize. And what I'm going to do is let you talk to my boss's boss.
That's how I got started.
And that from that moment on, it was just like a floodgate opened. We built a relationship with this particular part. They manage a portfolio of homes for a couple that lives in where
Alaska.
in Alaska, and
Oh,
they
wow.
own about 300 and some odd parks. And we ended up. He took a liking to Pam. We ended up building that relationship. He introduced us to park managers, and that's when it just started. From there, it was just nonstop homes, nonstop meeting people in the parks who were in bad situations and who knew of people who were in bad situations. And, we stayed kind to them. We stayed trying to help them, courteous, also every way possible that we can possibly try to help, we help. And from that, we built up a reputation with people inside of these parks. And they always knew Pamm and Shaun are the people to go to. Other investors are there also, but they always refer, say, don't go to those guys. Pamm and Shaun will take care of you. Pamm and Shaun are fair. They'll treat you right. So, all from that business card in in that home and getting yelled at and screamed at by that park manager or maintenance guy.
Wow. I didn't know that story, or you didn't tell me about that. Could you have most of your homes been in those communities that they
Yes.
managed?
Yes.
So they own communities in all over the Southeast. And from that introduction, the portfolio manager, because at the time we were so new, we didn't really know what was what, but I got on the phone with the portfolio manager, and he got me in contact with different park managers, and the rest is history. So all of our homes except 2 have been under their umbrella, because pretty much they call us all the time.
Right. Whenever there's a home available or something, an eviction, they reach out to us. And another thing is, when he asked to see some of the work that we had, which we didn't have any work at that time, so we had to ask you.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Make it till you make it.
Yeah, and so we, once they saw that, they were impressed and they gave us our shot. And from that moment on, we made sure to always, do work to that standard or better. And that's what, from that, we get calls all of the time. Even like Pam said, there are other park managers that we have also befriended outside of that portfolio because of that. So what we try to do is we build like the video you were just mentioning. We do a before and an after, so that you can see where we take these homes from and what the product that we produce. So that, because one thing we feel is that the people that are buying these homes saved up a lot of money, they to get it, so they want value for their money, right? And I think that's important to deliver that, right? Like, you want, especially if you're spending that kind of money, you want to make sure that the product is not just covering up putting band-aids on things or covering up really big problems. So we do everything that needs to be done, we do to the home, within reason, of course. Like, we're still in it to make profit, but we also want to make sure that we're not ripping anybody off. We want to make sure that we're helping whoever's in the situation, whoever's purchasing, whoever's selling. We want to make sure that they're treated fairly. So
by giving them a good product.
A good product. And the managers, that was one of the things that was important to the portfolio owner, was that he said a lot of investors come into these parks and they just do a shoddy job and then sell that for all of this money to these buyers, and then they're left with a crappy product, and then the complaints come to the park. So we made sure we weren't going to do anything like that. So yeah.
A lot of your homes have been sold for cash versus payments?
So most of our homes were sold for cash. We try to do that first as last resort. We do rent to own financing, but here lately, Pam belongs to another one of the women's groups that you started.
Yes,
And
I love that.
and that's what they were promoting that we should start venturing more into that. Another park manager that we befriended also, he does this also, and he said the same thing, that we should start considering financing options. So it's a lot to manage, tracking the finances, keeping on top of payments, as well as all of the other day-to-day operations of the business. So I don't like to do that portion of it. I'd rather just sell it and get it out of here. But we have started to take on more of that.
Roughly, what are you or what's your minimum down payment? I mean, you're getting just a few dollars, or is it like 30, 20%?
Half.
Yes. Okay,
Or
good.
more.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Or more. Perfect. Okay. Well, you're not in a cheap area either. You mind if we say your location?
Yeah, we're in Atlanta. So, we're in more of a metropolitan area. However, some of our homes have been in more of the suburban areas, not directly in the city.
Were you ever in this? I'm talking to two people now, so there's certainly two opinions. How resistant were you to take on those big project homes, or have most of your homes been paint and carpet, or just tiny repairs, or have you pushed aside the real rough ones and passed on those? What does that look like? Or just dive in and YOLO it?
We have taken some tear downs. Well, we've taken one tear down. And we kind of did that as a favor to the park, because in your modules you spoke about sometimes you may have to take something that you don't necessarily want to get what you really want, and that's exactly what's happened. So we've taken a couple not so great ones to get some great ones, and it just kind of sharpens our skill on learning, stretching ourselves outside of our comfort zones.
And we took one of the projects we took, but like Pam said, it's a tear down. Like, I mean, literally, like you can walk through this home and probably want to spit up in every room you walk through, right? I brought a handyman in there and he literally fell through the floor, right? That's how disastrous this place was. And but I knew that this was an opportunity. If we took this, then we could show the park, that we are the go-to people, that we're not afraid of this or that, and we can turn it around in a timely fashion, and we can produce a great product and bring value to the park. And it actually worked to our benefit. So although we don't want that to be the focus from these parks, to say, oh, send it to Pamm and Shaun, it's a tear down, they'll rebuild it. And that kind of is the direction the relationship started to go in. So, which Pam kind of corrected with them to let them know, hey, don't just send us that. We did it as a favor, but that's not what we're trying to build here. So, but it did work, and we feel like that is an approach that should be taken within reason. So.
Well, it should. And you did, I imagine, learn a bunch, and it was still profitable.
Right.
In the end. Yeah. We'll talk about a couple profitable deals, or great deals, good deals. Have you had any bad deals? And if so, what made them bad, or what comes to mind when I ask that question?
I don't think we can say that we've had any bad. We've definitely had some that we got into and realized, wow, it's more work than what we anticipated. It's a rule is it's always going to cost more and take longer than what we anticipate. And sometimes with the older homes, you just keep uncovering more and more. We're working on one right now that was free. However, the more that our handyman works on it, the more problems that we realize why we got it for free. But even with that, I still don't want to say that it's a bad home, because in the end, it will be profitable because it's free. We realize that we're going to have to put out maybe a couple extra months for lot rent than what we normally would, because we got it from a private owner, not the park. So we can't really negotiate on that side. But all in all, it's in a nice lot, and we realized that matters. So the location in the park definitely matters. And when we took it on, we weren't really familiar with how lots work and what's good and what's not good. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
What is the average time to rehab and then have it back on the market for you both?
Well, longer than what you say in the module.
Okay.
And that's because we're still trying to kind of build our team. We get great guys that are super slow, or we get horrible guys that are super fast. So we're trying to find a way where we can build that and make that work for us. If like one method we tried, we had this great handyman. He was so meticulous that he blew past every deadline, but his work was impeccable. And so what we tried, and then we got this other guy he could turn a home in days, but the work was so sloppy and it was so like things weren't done correctly. So what we figured, we would use him for speed on certain things and then bring in our other guy who was more meticulous to kind of enhance what was already done. And the guy, he pays attention to detail, so we would use him for the detailed work to make the home pop. And but that still didn't work out. So so it's just because we're still new, we're still trying to formulate and find the correct team. The guy we have now, he's excellent, but again, he's not as slow as the other guys we've encountered, and he's not as fast as we need him to be, but his work is impeccable. So,
but he doesn't have a team.
Right.
So
exactly.
it's just him. So I would say, generally speaking, it's taking him about a month to turn like something that is, I don't want to say a tear down, but needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
floors, ceilings, re-leveling the home,
roof work,
putting up drywall. That whole his projects are usually quite extensive. So that's why it takes him so long. If he had a team, then he could probably turn these within the expected or the time we want to turn a home, which is 2 weeks. But because it's just him, it's taking usually about 30 days. So
does that cause a traffic jam with the deals that you're lining up? Like, since you found this handyman, have you been keeping him busy and he's the one that he works for you only or mostly? And then does that cause a problem with, you have 3 homes waiting to get to? And how do you?
So yes and no. Yes, because he's our best guy at the moment. It does, like, we have a home that needs roof work right now, and it's sitting there because the guys, we hire other guys. Like, we don't just sit and wait for him. We keep putting out ads, keep looking for other people, but in the process of trying to find those guys that can produce the quality work that we're looking for, we experience the issues of the work is sloppy, the promises, the deadlines are blown through because promises are made and they're not fulfilled. So Pam likes to say they over promise and under deliver. So that's usually the case. So this one particular home is on backlog because we have to wait for him, because we know he's done roof work for us already. We know his roof work is excellent, and his price, as we've tried other people and quoted their prices, they're not matching his price. So for that particular project, yes, it is sitting there waiting for him. And we are still, like, we have other properties that are in the process of being worked on as well. We actually just had to let go a team of guys because they did a horrible job on one of the properties we did. They started another project for us while that other project was still going, which we didn't okay them to do that, but they did it anyway. And that was just a nightmare. So we had to shut down the other project that's sitting there now. We just started advertising to get somebody else in there. And they completed the other project. The home, I think, could have been valued at a lot more had the work been done correctly and not as sloppy. But it is what it is. It's completed, so we just have to sell it as it is, because we don't want to go back and pay more money and more time. It's on, so we put it on the market. So yes and no to the question. Sorry to be so long.
No, not at all. I'm so proud of you both. I mean, stepping up, like doing your, full-time careers, family life, juggling everything. I mean, learning this business from scratch, having to deal with construction and handyman. Does confrontation, have you had to learn, is confrontation come easy to you both, having to stand up for yourselves and, like, with just handymen pretty much, like, because they'll try to take advantage of you at every chance they can get, some of them. Have you had to learn new skills there?
Definitely. I think that especially in the beginning, it was very apparent that we were new because of the kind of questions that we would ask and the kind of work that they would deliver. We weren't sure if this is standard or substandard. And so we have had to basically take our personal feelings out of the business because we've been burned several times, and we've had to even, like you said, get a little bit stern with people, which is not either of our natures, but we've had to go there because sometimes people mistake your niceness for a weakness. Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yep.
Have many of your properties been purchased, I guess, percentage wise, bought from the park versus bought from the owner occupants? What percentages out of that?
We're getting a lot of homes from parks now, just because we've gotten quite well networked with a lot of managers.
Good.
And so we actually are, believe it or not, at a point where we get more calls than we can handle.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
You've busted your rear ends for that. Yeah.
And then we have our site, thanks to you. And we get a lot of, most of those calls though are really outrageously priced homes. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like 60 to 100,000 for a home. So we're not, we're not going to spend that kind of money when the parks are offering us homes for like, bottom dollar. So, so we have so many interests in people trying to sell or whatever that even to this point, I said to Pam the other day, someone's calling her continuously to buy their home. And so Pam, Pam is front facing. I'm more back end. I handle the operations of the business, the receipts, the tracking of expenses and things like that. And Pam engages with the customer more often. So, but she does not like that gut wrench feeling of saying to somebody, we could give you $2,000 for your home that you want $30,000 for. So,
it gets easier.
Right. So that's the thing. So we have so many people coming to us that I suggested, hey, we don't really want this home. Use it as a learning experience. Get more comfortable with offering $2,000.
Well, you can always go up, I suppose.
Yeah. So when we first started our first home, in fact, I was telling the manager that I was going to buy a home from someone that lived in the park. And the manager was like, oh, well, I have some homes too. And that's kind of how it got started.
I bet to someone listening that hasn't invested in mobiles, and maybe you both thought this in the beginning, like, why would a park deal with us when they can just do that themselves or, sell them themselves?
So what we're seeing the trend right now is that parks don't want to have renters, and they don't want to be responsible for maintenance. So I think that a lot of the trend is that they would rather, some of the parks that when we first started said they don't work with investors, I now see them on Facebook saying we will work with investors. Yeah, some of the parts that we were very interested in the beginning, who were like, we do not work with investors. I think that they're all kind of realizing that they can save money if they get the home out of their control and onto someone else who's qualified and who's going to pay the lot rent, even if no one's in the house. So it's a win-win for the park. Because other than that, the house is just sitting.
Right.
And it helps if you have a what we call that, like a credibility video that you put together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, at this point, I've learned a lot with talking to park managers, and it's really more, how can we help to solve your problems? So a pain point for them, any lot that's not rented or sold is money loss. So coming at it from the aspect of, how can we help you to fill all of these lots with qualified candidates and bring up the value of your park by fixing these homes so that they can be beautiful instead of an eyesore. It's a win-win.
mean, you fix the outside and the inside. So it's even if they never go in, the manager is still happy with the outside.
Yeah. And most of the managers don't, but we always will send them pictures of the before and after because they don't really know, but they see the outside work and they do see how much time we put into it. So that's the concern that we hear from a lot of the park managers, that investors come in and they just kind of slap anything together. But inevitably, that helps us. It does, because when that happens, then they say, oh, see, they're not like you guys. Like you guys actually will fix it up. So it actually has worked in our favor that other investors don't fix up.
The bar is pretty low. And if you can show that you are doing work and brag a little bit about it, humbly brag that you are, that you are providing that night. That was one of the first things that you both said about you wanting to provide a quality product to the end buyer and not just sucker some, dope into buying something that they don't. Because most people, if they're going to a mobile home, they're not going to necessarily. Most people that have a regular job, they're not a housing professional, so they're not going to see everything. They could be easily duped.
Right.
So you both have, I'm sure I know there's a lot of unethical investors out there, and it's nice to know and work with, some.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate because we've gotten the reputation with all of the parks that we're in that we are reputable people that are honest and trustworthy, and we do everything in our power to restore the home to the best of our ability.
Sort of slight topic change. When it does come to repairing homes, you're not doing much or any of the work yourselves. You're using handymen or handywomen. What can you share any lessons that are on the top of your mind? Do's and don'ts maybe about handymen? Anything that comes to mind?
Don't pay in advance.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Rule number one.
Right.
Don't pay in advance.
Tack on more time than what they're telling you. Because most of the time, that's what it is.
Have you paid upfront before, or did you?
So we haven't paid like upfront, but we've let people beg us for additional money. So we will give the SOW, and then people will always come to us with they're having a hard time, their kids are in a financial jam, and but we've learned at this point that that's everybody. Like pretty much everyone is having a hard time, including us. So we can't save the world. And so another thing I picked up from the women's group is to just be firm with the contract that they sign and not make amends to it. Because if you start making amends, then it just opens up a floodgate.
So there is one situation we didn't pay in advance. So what we usually do is we agree upon a halfway point and we pay out at a halfway point. And then the final balance gets paid once the work is completed. So we made a mistake one time where they said that it was about 2 hours of work that was left to be done. So we gave them, because we travel, we're not in the same area as the home. So we drove, kind of a distance to get to the home, expecting that the work was going to be completed when we got there, which it wasn't. It was about 2 hours of work left, so they said, to be done. And it was just minor things that was, that needed to be taken care of. So I had the money, and I said, okay, if I give you this money, and we were under the premise that they were going to work on another home for us. So we figured, okay, we can pay you for this. We know you're not going to go anywhere because we're going to have another contract for another home for you to do. And so I gave him the money. We agreed. I gave him the money, and it took this guy days, for something that was supposed to take. First, it was 2 hours, and it was, oh, it's going to be done in an hour. Oh, it's finished now. I drive all the way over there. It's not finished. None of the work that he said was supposed to be done when I gave him the money was completed. It finally got completed, and it still wasn't completed to the manner that it should have been. So that, I say, is a very valuable lesson. I don't care if it's an hour's worth of work left or 10 minutes worth of work. If it's not completed, then there should be no payment, until it's absolutely turnkey, ready to walk through the door, to sell or put on the market. So lesson learned.
Shaun, great tip.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
I mean, the last year and a half. Year and a half goes by it goes by so fast, but you can
Yeah.
accomplish a lot in a year and a half but you got to get started. You got to put in action.
Right.
And it took you
Right.
3-4 months even to
Right.
break into this business.
Yeah.
And
I
even
remember I didn't even know what a quarter round was.
yeah.
we had a handyman giving us his list, and he wrote 1/4 round on the list of what supplies he needed, materials he needed. And I wrote him back and I said, "What is 1/4 round?" And he said, "Quarter round." And I'm still like, "What's quarter round?"
They knew you were new then.
Exactly. But it's funny now, one way that we learned was, I initially wanted to get one of Pam's friends who did work for her. We used to do little odd things around our home. I wanted to get him to come and, look at a home so that we could know what to say to the handyman. And the funny thing is that very first time we actually started to, interview handyman, by the fourth guy that was coming there, we knew a lot, just listening to what they were saying, the things they were talking about, asking questions. We would take the things that the first guy that we learned on the interview and apply that back to the questioning for the second guy. And we kept doing that until we finally picked up the lingo, picked up, and understood the work that needed to be done. So it is, like you said, it's one thing to have the practical knowledge, to watching videos, watching going through modules, but you actually have to get out there and put one foot in front of the other to be able to really grasp and understand what is actually involved here. And once we did that, it was we started to grow. So, and then asking you 50 million questions all this time.
Well, experience is a great teacher. I hope I've been helpful to you both, the program, and then
been amazing.
Most
helpful
definitely.
to you as well. Man. Do you see, what is your goals with mobile home investing? The way that things are going now, would you be able to, is like early retirement, or is that something you're looking for, or taking one of you away from your careers, or just keep doing the career but then buying parks, and then what's the longer term, or even like a 2-5 year 5-year plan?
I think that our plan, now that we are so engrossed in this, we realize that time is actually valuable. Like the more that you have capital, you realize how much time you spend at a job. And no matter how hard you work, there's only, there's levels to, we're both very seasoned in our careers, but there's still going to be a ceiling for where you can go on a job. So I have just, for the first time in my life, realized that I can actually make a living without having a 9 to 5. And that's actually both of our goal now, to be able to do this at some point full time, and hopefully own several parks. So that's our next big thing that we want to look into.
That's incredible to hear that. I mean, obviously it makes sense, and you're both super smart. So it's not, I mean, that's the next evolution, obviously.
Right.
That's incredible. What are some of the homes that you are getting? And that video that you made doesn't do it justice, but some of them, the location, a little while ago, maybe 10 minutes ago, you said about the location in the park being important. And you've had some really great locations of homes, like, lake frontage, things that you've made me jealous. Like, I don't have that. Or I think you even said you would be, you'd be there.
Yeah.
So that's very surprising and impressive. And there's some nice lots out there.
Some very nice lots. I think that in the beginning, that particular home that you're referring to, you don't know what you have because we were so new. We didn't really understand what we had. Now we look back like, how in the world do we, like, we literally have like the best house in the park. So in a few parks, we have some very coveted places, like one of the homes in that park, but not that particular home. After now it's sold, we're like, hey, we didn't realize that this home has a backyard that's fenced in, and all these other homes aren't fenced in. But we were so new that we were just like, oh, it has a backyard. Like, that's a huge selling point now that we just purchased another home in that park that doesn't have a backyard. it's suddenly now clear, like, wow, we've had some really awesome real estate within the park, and we didn't even know.
I mean, this business doesn't happen by accident, and the credit goes to you both. Um, most people, at least in our group, they want to help people. They know that we're not going to get rich overnight. We do one deal after the next, or a couple at a time. But we're doing this for the profit as well, and to provide good homes. But ultimately, we want to make money. What is, without being too specific, because it's nobody's business, what's the what have there been some like big paychecks that you've gotten? And are we talking like profit wise, we like 30,000 in the 50s and the 60s? Oh, okay. Hey, I'm not gonna add. Hey, that's all right. Hey, okay. That's huge. That's life. I mean, life-changing money to some, and to a lot of them,
Yeah,
that's like a
yeah,
full year, work.
absolutely.
Wow.
And we've
Yes.
been
Yeah.
very, very, I have this tech guy, so we're very strict with our spending. So any money that we make, we reinvest. So we actually we've only gone out to dinner or something.
So my whole thing is, so we started this late in life, right? And we both have been building our careers, going the route of, degrees and things like that. And so when I saw the potential of the earning potential here, I said, you know what? We need to, like, forget it, like, sacrifice 3-year, 5-year goal. We need to make smart investments, pick and choose on particular properties that will yield the highest return for profit, and take that money, instead of going on vacation or whatever. Take all of that and dump it right back in, and keep doing that. Every single home that's sold, we just
Every
dump that
single
money
home.
right back in, and we buy more homes. So we started, like, this past year, we started out, this business pretty much was started running itself. We no longer had to finance it after, our first few homes and first few sales. So now the business pretty much covers itself. We just got Pam a new truck from the home. So, we just keep investing in the business, keep investing in business, so that 3 years from now, we can then say, hey, let's get rid of these 9 to 5s and focus solely on this. And then let's start looking at parks, and let's start looking at, bigger investments inside of this industry. So I just feel like if we would have started this early in life, then we could enjoy some of the fruits of the
There's no
labor,
enjoyment
but
here.
no enjoyment right now. We'll enjoy later.
I've gotten one good dinner. Other than that, I don't see anything.
You look like you're having an okay time. You're not miserable.
She loves it,
But
trust me.
just this year, something happened, and I was like, okay, I get it now. I get it. We invest or reinvest. It's just a cycle.
Right.
Like, I get it now. Like, I was thinking, oh, we can go on a vacation, or so the money is to make more money.
Right. Your money has to work for you, pretty
Yeah.
much. So yeah.
Remember, maybe it's The Richest Man in Babylon, that book. It's a classic, and they say that I think it's that one. It's like every dollar is a soldier, and you only want to deploy your little soldiers
Right.
to bring back more
Bring back
soldiers.
more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, should
Exactly.
I buy this Snickers? It makes me like feel, but then I get anxiety buying like a Snickers. Like, in 50 years, I could have had 100,000 with this if I would have invested it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did make you decide mobile home investing, or of us get started together, or you come into the mobile home formula program, or what? How did that go down?
So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about everything, just, as we all do, thinking, how can I get rich? How can I not have to work for the rest of my life? And I'd seen people doing mobile homes. I wasn't quite sure. And I remember going away for work. I think it was in New York, and Shaun found you, I think. And he spoke to you, and I was out of town. And I was like, oh, we could just watch YouTube videos. We don't need to hire any mentor.
But hold up, there was another couple that she wanted to go with.
I'm like,
But
let's go with these guys.
when I realized you taught them, I was like, why are we gonna go with them? Let's go with the guy who taught them. And every video, every time like she showed me a video, I would read in the comments or something, and they would always talk about John Fedro. John Fedro.
Right.
John Fedro is the greatest person in
Right.
mobile homes. And so I was like, that's really a no-brainer. Like if everybody who is successful in this is talking about this man, that's who we need to learn from.
Yeah. And I was like, well, we could learn from one of the other people. We don't have to go with John. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad that Shaun was like, either we're going with the best or we're not going to do it. And again, I was away, I think, in New York on business, and Shaun connected with you. And after he kind of went over everything that you'd spoken about, I was like, let's just try it. But I still kind of was thinking we could learn from these YouTube videos. But now I would tell anyone, get a mentor. Get a mentor. If you're not from real estate or, construction, you need a mentor.
Mm-hmm. It was the best investment I could have ever made in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that to butter you up. Like it is literally the best investment. It is life-changing. So
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And people are always asking us, like, how do we get started? And I'm like, you have to call John, because honestly, it's too much to try to explain. And now that I'm so far in this, I understand why the program is set up the way it is. Because it makes sense now. Like a lot of the things in the beginning, I'm like, oh, this is like wasting so much time, but it all fits together and it all makes sense. And I completely understand why you took us through the trenches of driving for dollars and meeting park managers, because if you just kind of walk through the front door, it doesn't really prepare you for what you would really have to face with this whole program to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inside. I am on cloud nine. I mean, I have difficulty taking compliments, or but I'm working on that. And so I hear what you're saying. That means a tremendous amount, because I know how much you've struggled and the BS that you both have gone through, and just normal stuff. But you have to push through even to get to that first deal, and then you're the magic in your area, and people know you, and you're the authority now, and they're calling you up, and they don't know me, they know you locally.
I think all of the hard work that you had us do in the beginning sets us up for this, because it's gonna not be easy. And if you don't know that, you may quit. If we didn't go through all of the months and months of basically knocking on doors, we would probably think that this is easy. And when people talk to me about it, I'm like, you have no idea. Like it's not easy. It's definitely worth it for sure. But you have to be committed. You have to definitely be all in.
That's a good way to say it. That's for sure. That's for sure. No, not in halfway.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut to it. And that's the thing that I notice. People are looking for a shortcut to how do you, like, you see a video, somebody says, oh, you can make this amount of money on YouTube or for selling mobile homes, but there's still a process there, and you have to really kind of put your mind in that state to say, I'm going to actually commit to this program. I'm going to actually do everything that is stated to do. And if you follow and if you do that, it's guaranteed to bring success. But if you think that there's some magical road that you can take to get there, that's not going to happen. So, and I'm glad, like in the beginning, I had FOMO, fear of missing out, but, and I'm glad that I actually experienced that, because now it makes me look back. We were just talking about this before this call. Now it makes me look back in the beginning and see, hey, I should have actually exercised a little more patience. I should have actually, followed the program to the letter, because it actually, now everything that you talked about in these modules, we are actually experiencing. We are actually experiencing that cycle of, make this offer, this low offer that makes your stomach turn, and that person is definitely going to come back, because a lot of people don't actually know how to go about selling their home, and they need someone like us as an investor that does know how to market and promote their home and get it sold. And so they will, a person has an expectation because they have an attachment to their home, so they feel like, my home, I've lived here for so long, I've put all of this work into it, it's worth $60,000, $50,000. But actually, you don't understand that that has nothing to do with it. It's the value of the home, the work that needs to be done. So this is the actual offer. And when you realize you can't sell it on your own, you don't have the avenues, then you need to come back to the people who do. And then you come back and now you're willing to negotiate correctly. So and the program taught us that. So, and we actually see that in play as we are speaking now. There's a guy calling Pamm continuously because we told him the value of your home. We love your home, like he's told us to say. It's a beautiful home, but the work that needs to go into it is not really, it's not equivalent to what you're asking for. And so because of that, you can go and you can probably get more for somebody that's going to live in the home. But we're investors. We have to invest in this home and bring it back up to a certain level. And what you're asking for is not going to really pan out for us. And we said, so go and sell it if you can, sell it to whoever you can get more money. And he's ringing our phone today.
and you mean that. I mean, you're not being
Right,
sarcastic
exactly.
when you say
Exactly.
that.
No.
We genuinely mean that. You should go sell it to somebody else because you might find a family that can give you what you're asking for. But as an investor, we can't pay those prices because if by the time we pay your price and then invest in bringing the home up to speed, and we're not trying to rip anybody off to just put anything in there, so that we can make $1. We genuinely want to produce a good product. So by the time we do our work on the product and try to sell it with your high price, we're not going to make anything. So it's not really a smart investment. So you should go sell it if you can, to a family or whatever. And most of the time they can't. So they end up calling us back. So
there's and people do. I know I get various emails from folks that I don't work with when they do spend too much on a home, investors, or they put too much money into it and they're not able to get that money back out, and they're confused on, what happened or what did I do wrong. And it's, from the beginning, you got to buy right and then put the right repairs in it and not spend too much there.
Right.
Which you're both excellent at buying inexpensive material or getting discounts, and you've worked
Pamm is
hard
the
on that.
cheapest person in the room. So.
Yeah. Say that with pride. You say that. I mean, that's a very good thing in my world.
I can't believe this one home. She actually found flooring to cover the entire home for free.
That's I'm not even laughing on that. That's incredible. I mean,
And this is before we had a truck.
Exactly. For free. I mean, and it was in great condition. The flooring. The guy he was rebuilding his home and he wanted to put new flooring in, so he took up the old, but it was nothing wrong with it.
Was that some type of Facebook marketplace or some kind of classified?
Yeah, it was on Facebook Marketplace. I think he was trying to sell it for like 900, and then he came down to 5, and then he called me one day and was like, "You've put in so many bids, you can just have it. My wife wants to get rid of it today."
Just so that you quit calling.
Right. He was like, "You can just take it." He's like, "If you guys can come get it, come take it now."
All the like we talked about just a few, or we kind of touched on, that in the first few months or going through the process, you were constantly learning, or there's always something to well, yeah, not sometimes it's not revolutionary, the things you're learning, but little things here and there. But in the beginning, or even going through the process, were there times that you wanted to quit or throw in the towel, which I assume there was, but correct me if I'm wrong. And then more importantly, what stopped you from doing that? Because you're here today, successful.
So for me, it's more so us working as a couple. There are times that I'm like, you know what? I'll just work a regular job. I can't do this. This is too much togetherness, too much arguing. It's not actually the program. It's more us learning how to work together as a couple and balance having a life and a kid and full-time jobs, and getting on each other's nerves. It's
It
really
gets
been that
stressful.
more than
Right.
anything else that I never really have I've never come to a point where I doubted the system or the program because I see that it works. I understand the interworkings of how it goes, but it's been more like, can our relationship survive mobile homes?
Whoa, that's huge. Can we talk about how the lessons learned? Because, and I hope that you're pushing through all that to become even
Yeah,
stronger.
yeah.
So I think that what makes it work, um, when we go through our issues, right? Um, a commonality is that we both love each other, and we know that there is, we're different. We're two completely different type of people, right? And which is the thing that kind of brought us together, right? So, and that kind of get lost in translation sometimes, right? So the thing that I'm not as much of a people person as Pam is. I can be, and I usually feed off of her energy doing that. And so, and I'm more of a technical person, an analytical person. So I'm more, organized, more, into doing things a specific way, right? And that difference tends to kind of also create conflicts, right? But those are the things that help the business, right? That made it to the success level that we've come to now. So remembering that is kind of what's important, like what helps us to keep going. Like I can do what she does, but not to the magnitude that she does it. She's built for that, right? She can't do what I can do. I'm built for that. And that's what makes the dynamic work. So remembering that, being able to understand there's no animosity here, there's no malicious intents here. It is just we are built differently and we view the world and situations completely different. And so once we're able to come back to that understanding, we're able to once again appreciate one another, once again realize that why we're together and why we decided to build this business together in the first place, and why we have gotten the success that we've gotten so far. So I think that anyone who is in a partnership, anyone who is struggling in a partnership, I think those are the important things to always keep coming back to in order to be able to continue ahead, and a strong desire. Like you have to want to be in this position and want to be here. And when you remember and understand why you decided to be here in the first place, that will, help you get through whatever issues and problems you're experiencing. So
No, that I'm jealous of that, or that you both love each other, and this business is I mean, you had a long history before this business, but to then grow something like this together and go through hell, maybe not, I mean, but to go through the,
literally.
yeah, damn, and then come out the other side and be successful, and like this is what we, and just to know each other so much. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you've never, wow, interesting. Like you never have done all this. This is sort of new,
Right.
and all, everything that you have done in raising a child and learning. But I mean, just to, yeah, you're in business together, you're partners. Yeah, it is definitely different being just with married versus being a business
Right.
partner. Like
Right.
that's
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Right.
wow.
Yeah, it's
Thank you
always
for
a learning experience. So.
talking about. Thank you for, yeah, mentioning that, opening up about that. I bet that's a struggle that a lot of folks have.
Mhm.
I'm
My
sure.
yeah, my wife is too smart to work with me. She knows that. She knows better. I don't want to do mobile homes.
Ah, yeah.
um,
And for me, I have never been a person to partner with anyone. I'm kind of a lone wolf. And so it's been a learning for me to be able to have somebody that's 50-50 in it with me. I'm kind of used to making my own decisions and acting fast and not having to consult anyone on things. So that's a huge learning for me, a huge learning.
that's a good question. Did mobile homes, besides the riches, besides yeah, the monetary benefits that come along with this business, in what ways, and we've talked about a few of them on this call, but has mobile home investing already in the year and a half, you know, changed you? I kind of wrote down a question about where is it? Yeah. In what ways has it changed you personally? Like characteristics, habits, anything that comes to mind there?
Well, I used to go on nice vacations and
People are tuning out now. I think they're leaving the video.
um so it's changed my outlook on life. I think that I always saw myself working for a company. Like I never really saw myself, even though I kind of wanted to have a business, I never really thought that I could retire outside of having a 9 to 5 in some capacity. And at this point, I actually feel like, I could probably work for myself. Like it's changed the way I feel about work. I've always been a super overachiever at work. And now I kind of feel like if I'm doing so much, why not for myself? Like on times when I'm like, this is the pits, I'm like, but I would do this level of excellence on a job any day of the week. So it's kind of just made me reevaluate how I move in the workplace. I still want to, of course, always be at the top, but I'm like, well, if I could do that for someone else, I could do it for myself too.
So for me, it has changed me in this perspective. I'm always the person that is looking to, you know, I guess you can say I'm overly trying to consider somebody else's situation, right? And a lot of the things that we went through with learning with handyman is kind of because I'm always trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, whereas Pam is a little more skeptical than I am, which creates arguments, because I'm like, yeah, but he said this, and his mom is in the hospital or whatever the case may be. But then the next week, his sister's in the hospital, and I'm like, but he might have a sister in the hospital and a mom in the hospital, you know. And she's like, come on now, like you got to be realistic. They're lying. They're saying this, and they're just trying to work another job. And I'm like, but maybe he's not. I'm always trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. So for me, this has kind of opened my eyes to people aren't as trustworthy as you give them credit to be, right? People aren't always, they don't always have your best interests at heart, for whatever you make them a part of. It is really, you have to kind of like keep one eye open when you're trusting someone to live up to the expectation that you have put on the table for them, right? And so it made me just view this whole this whole interaction with hiring people, with even selling homes to people. Sometimes she and I have little friendly wagers on if a couple people are coming to apply for the same home and claim they want to buy it. She's like, who do you have your money on? And I'm like, oh, this guy, he's definitely going to be the guy to get it. And she's like, I don't think so, I think this guy is the one. And so even in that aspect, it's also the same thing. You can't really judge a book by its cover. You've got to, like, look deeper in and assess things for what it really is. So it's kind of given me a different perspective and a different outlook towards who I bring into my affairs, who I call a part of my team, who I hire, who I'm selling a property to, or even showing a property to. So just a little more um, leery into taking someone at their word. So
And on the flip side of that, not taking it personally, like
right.
this is a business, and separating our feelings from money definitely has been a learning for us. Not intertwining the two. Like we're both super nice people and we want to help people, but we have to keep always in mind, because when we haven't, we've ended up in a jam, that this is a business and it has to run like a business. Like no matter what, we are kind of sometimes bleeding hearts, and we've learned the hard way. But in the end of the day, nothing is personal. It's this is just, we provide a service, and we want to provide the best service as possible. And people will sometimes disappoint you, but it's not personal. It's just a part of the journey.
That's so good. Those are huge, huge lessons. Becoming, I know I still am gullible, but I'm a lot less
Right.
gullible now, or my patience for excuses has becomes so short. Like,
Mhm.
I can hear an excuse a mile away. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, actions speak, yeah, louder than words. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for opening up about that. And I mean, just being honest, or
Mhm.
thank you for your honesty. Anything that you would like to talk about, or any advice for others in the business around the fence, or things that we didn't talk about, or a deal that was particularly impactful?
If I could give any advice, it would be to actually commit 100% to the program and don't take any shortcuts and take your time and let things materialize because they will. They will. Like now looking back, I'm like every single thing that we were expecting to happen and some has happened. But you kind of just have to give it time and not feel like, oh, I've done enough because it's going to be more time than what you probably think it is, but the reward is great. If I could also say that we've kind of tried to always think about how can we solve people's problems, and if we lead with that, it normally ends up right. Like people, if we can figure out what's their pain point, what's the issue that they're having, and how we can solve it, it works.
And I'd also say believe in yourself, right? Like believe that you can do this. I know a lot of people are, research junkies. A lot of people don't feel like they have the ability or the capability. One thing I always like to say is when I want something, or or I see something that someone else is doing, I always say, what do they have that I don't? I have the same brain. I have the same, I breathe just like they breathe. What is the difference? If they can do it, I can do it too. So, and this is one of those things. I see all of these people on the internet talking about selling mobile homes. And, I've watched you for so long, and I say, if John could do it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
Real, yeah.
But I just have to believe that, I can do it. And we believed and we committed and we wanted to give up, but we persevered and kept going. And it's producing for us. So I would just say, make sure that all of the things Pam just said, as well as believe in yourself and don't give up, just keep doing it, and it will flourish. So.
We only get one life, and you both are like, or I think a lot of us are, especially in our group, we're actually trying to be the architect of that life and not just sort of existing or,
Mhm.
eking by. And maybe that's what a lot of people want. I mean, you said it earlier, Shaun. I think that a lot of people give up, or they don't, I don't know if it's shiny object syndrome, or if they don't have that like real that fire, or maybe
Mhm.
they do have that fire, but they're just, maybe it's a short, this, culture
Mhm.
nowadays is short-term
Mhm.
thinking, or
Right,
what's that now, like if we just get distracted maybe easily, or
right,
shiny
right,
object or something like that, but we
right.
don't give up. Great
Yeah.
advice, Shaun. Great
Yeah.
advice, Pam.
Yeah, just stick to it. I mean, in the beginning, we laugh now, but we were, instead of following your script, we would go in with all of these crazy things to the park managers, like, oh, we're here to help people. We're here to help a church. Just
we renovate homes for less fortunate people.
looking back, they were all like, what? Um,
That's great, but how
I
much
didn't
money do you have to pay for this home?
I didn't know any of that. That was awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
gotta
I
try it
mean,
out.
and now like we
See
look
what
back like
works.
what a waste of time. Just say what it is that you're there
Right.
for. And if you say it enough times and you meet enough managers and you put out enough signs,
Right.
eventually something will click.
And
Like,
then we hear other investors come saying the same thing to us. they,
yeah.
they work with a church and they put family, and we're like,
Uh,
wow, that sounds familiar.
yeah. Buy one of those little priest collars. I don't know.
Right.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
great.
That was
Yeah,
before we got serious about your program.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That didn't work. You're kidding me. That was
Right.
guilt them, and that's what it is. I got to
Right.
guilt the manager into working with you.
Oh
This
man.
was cool. Thank you so much. Seriously, thank you for hopping on the call. I know a lot of people that are listening to this have gotten a lot of information, or you certainly, I know if I was listening to this back in the day, would have like compelled me to just, yeah, if all three of these, guys can do it, then I can do it as well.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, we just don't
For
give up,
sure.
for better or worse.
We are definitely not from real estate. We're not from construction. We had no background of any sort in any of this. And so if we can do it, anyone whatsoever can do it.
Yeah.
Well, don't sell yourself short though. That, I mean, but you're right. And also it takes I mean, just finding this and
Yeah.
sticking to it and putting in the work and listening and evolving, and man,
Yeah.
this is cool. This, I know we talk a lot regularly, and I want to be here for you, but both for more deals, some park stuff. Let's do some of that. That would be cool to get into a
Yeah.
park together.
Yeah, definitely.
Although I don't want to become your partners and you start hating me.
Yeah, that'll never happen, man.
But this was, yeah, super cool. Thank you so much. And it's cool to, yeah, hang out with you guys and be, I want to put together some kind of like Georgia, Florida group where we can all, or like meet up where we all can kind of meet up, and that'd be awesome to
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
that would be
get
great.
together and hang out in person.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you both so much.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you, John.
John.
Thanks for having us.